Welcome back to What's on the Market. Today we are talking property management with Michael Twentyfive, who's from Rochester. So, I sent you that list of questions.
Yes.
And it's awesome for you to answer
I
that.
thought you wanted me to answer them.
No, but I like that you
so
did because it just added a whole bunch of extra stuff, I feel like, that I'll probably think
whatever
of.
I could do to make your hosting
awesome.
easier.
Thank you. So I usually start out with talking about how we know each other.
Sure.
Clearly we don't know each other, but I know your girlfriend, Jamie.
Yes. So it's like proxy.
Yeah, so
Same.
I mean basically.
Yeah.
And Rochester's a small town.
It is, yes.
Yeah. So you're from Victor, Fairport?
Yeah, I grew up in Victor, moved to Fairport after my parents separated. I had my dad owned like a big bar restaurant called Sledgehammers out in Victor, Farmington, which is like a big spot back in the 90s.
Yeah.
So
It's an upcoming spot now.
yeah, Farmington was up and coming for a while too, and then it kind of fizzled out when the Racino came in there. Everyone thought that the area would be like booming,
Yeah.
but literally just crushed everything. So then
Yeah.
didn't have the effect they thought it would. And then moved to Victor, and then when I was like 18, 19, moved to the city. Or Fairport, then the city.
Yeah. And do you still live in the city now?
Yeah, living on East Avenue. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Beautiful
I thought
area.
that. Yeah. Yeah, fun area, lots to do.
I do everything within 1 mile. I actually train kickboxing and jiu-jitsu right next door at Team Empire, so I go there all the
Nice.
time. Then World Gym when it was open before this madness started. And then my office is on 1 East Main,
Okay.
right the Wilder building. So I get my whole life's within like a 2 mile square radius.
Oh, that's awesome.
Other than when I'm running around checking on contractors and people at properties.
Sure. And I want to get into that because I'm interested.
Keeping people accountable is quite a job.
I know.
Yeah.
Don't I know it?
Yeah.
So you didn't go to college.
Nope.
You decided right after high school.
Yeah, so it's not like I'm against college. I just never needed to go. You know, so like college is a great
I
thing to do.
understand
I just didn't I knew right out of high school I wanted to get into real estate.
Okay.
So I got my license at like 19ish, I think.
That's crazy.
I'm 36, so it was a while ago.
Yeah.
That was back when it was 40 hours. I think now it's like 175 hours or something. It's 75.
Yeah, 75 hours. But
a lot. I thought it was 40 hours.
long.
I'm like 40 hours. I mean, I was like 75 hours. So then I worked at Our House Real Estate, which was in Webster on Empire Boulevard. So I worked there for a little bit. It's just like doing like typical real stuff like you do.
Yep.
But that's quite a grind, especially when you're like 19, 20, 21.
Yeah.
Like no one I know is buying houses.
Right,
nothing.
right,
So,
right. You
so I
didn't have
go
a
in
big
there.
sphere.
Well, like what you were saying earlier, they'll hire a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like they just throw stuff against the wall and see who sticks.
Yes,
so
totally.
they'll hire whoever, and
A
they'll
lot
hire
of phone calls, stuff like that.
yeah, manning the phone. So they hired
Yeah.
20 people. They probably assumed 10 could probably sell something or list something through a friend and family. Then maybe 1 or 2 will actually be like producers,
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, man, this is tough. Then I get a couple deals, and then I'd be like, great, you work on them forever, And then you get a couple deals.
3
it's
months
like,
later.
And it's like your training fee, this fee, that fee, a
Your
parking
money's gone.
fee, there's like air conditioning fee. I'm like, so by the time you get like $700 from like this huge deal, I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, great.
totally.
So then after that, I got into mortgage financing with a company. Well, because they had a company called DeVere Capital that they would use. So they'd always be like, DeVere Capital, DeVere Capital.
Yeah.
So then I met these mortgage guys at Moneyline, New York, which was downtown at 311 Alexander Street. So I started doing mortgages just for myself,
Yep.
so I figured I'd try to make some money, other than just, one
Totally.
avenue. So then they're like, no, you can't. You got to go through DeVere Capital. You can't be financing your own deals. I'm like, I don't think you can. I think the RESPA law. I don't think you can do that. So they're like really pressuring me not to do that.
Yeah.
So I just started kind of gravitating more towards the mortgage business. And this is like the subprime boom, So we're getting crazy deals for
Yeah.
subprime lending.
And everybody's qualifying.
I mean, you get those CESA loans, state income, stated asset loans, no
Okay.
income, no asset loans. I mean, those are crazy with 620 credit scores. So I mean, we're just giving people finance left and right.
Yeah.
So then I worked at another place. Then that kind of fizzled out, subprime thing. Then I worked for another company, Professional Mortgage Group out of Penfield. So when I was there, I did a lot of investor financing. So people would come to me, to buy investment properties, non-owner occupied properties. And then they would always be like, "Oh, is there a property management company around?" I'd be like, "I don't know, look them up. I don't know. Let me tell you."
It's not my job.
So I would just kind of refer them out to people, and then they'd get back to me, and they'd be like, "Well, this person sucks. Do you know anyone else?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. Like, there's only at this time there wasn't. There's just like a ton of them around now, but there wasn't that many around at that point." So they just would get back to me, and they would say, "They'd be like, well, can you just do it?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What am I supposed to do?
Can
Collect
you
rent?"
do it?
Yeah, like, can you do it? I'm like, what do you got to do? Just collect rent? I'm like, sure, no problem, whatever. But then, as I started getting into it, I realized there's a lot more to it. It's not just collecting rent. You gotta vet the tenants. You gotta keep the property in compliance. You gotta deal with vendors. You gotta deal with contractors. Mm-hmm. So I kind of just fell into it that way. Then eventually, just taking up so much of my time, I just started veering towards that a little more.
Yeah.
So, Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
that kind of kicked off from there, and then it's kind of been rolling ever since.
When did you buy your first property?
I had a partner like back in like 2011, 12ish that I kind of partnered up with. He had a good list of like private lenders, things like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of when I started getting into like contract assignments, things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we bought our first duplex on Clifford Avenue back in like 2011 or 12. So a lot of them we didn't like hold. A lot of them we would buy and sell quickly, or we
That's
just sign
cool.
the contracts, or we would hold them for a little bit, get
Yeah.
them in compliance, sell them.
100% something I'm so interested in.
Yeah.
Do you ever go downtown and go to
You guys
the...
have properties, right?
Yeah, we own
so-
we own 15 properties, so like
That's a nice
30-something
little
units.
that's a nice little nest there. That's
It's
good.
crazy.
That's
yeah,
good.
It's madness every day, but
What areas?
honestly, we stick more to the suburbs.
Suburbs, yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah,
Lower
no-
maintenance, less turnover.
Yeah. I mean, and near colleges, that's our big thing.
You don't have the city on you all the time either,
Yeah. Oh well, we have a couple in the South Wedge, so I know what that's like.
Yeah, I'll get into that too. So we manage properties in Buffalo, and there's such a difference between Buffalo and Rochester. Like, I kind of appreciate because sometimes they get mad like the inspectors here, like they're just so like just on you about everything. But then I kind of I go to Buffalo and like the worst areas we have properties here are like nothing compared to what we have in Buffalo. Like,
Really?
it's so much different, and they're not like as like they want to keep the properties in compliance, but they're not as quick to like fine you, yank you right
Yeah.
away. They're not, so they give a lot more leniency, and you can tell because some of these areas just look like trash. Like the streets are trash,
Yeah.
overgrown. Like the properties look like they should be condemned. Yet there's people living in them. I'm like the stuff I see out there. I'm like, this would never fly in Rochester. I have a little more
Interesting.
appreciation for how they do
Yeah.
things here. Like even though it's kind of a pain in the ass, but
Yeah. Well, I think more for us, it's like we are good landlords that upkeep the property. We go and renovate the whole thing. We get the max rent we can by doing that. But next to us is like a slumlord, and they're not paying any of their fines, and it's like you're on us for.
well, because you get. I mean, they had like that the whole thing that happened a couple years ago. Where they're getting the tenant unions formed and things like that. And I think they have an owner registry now, so you can't own a property and be from Saskatchewan, own a property, and then you have no one here representing you, and then they go to look you up and file. You have an LLC, they can't get a hold of you. That was the problem. Is like a lot of these out of state, out of
totally.
country
I bet,
landlords
yeah.
weren't doing what they're supposed to do. So they had to keep them accountable. So now you actually have to have someone either represent you here, or you have to have like an owner registry, like your personal information on file. So
Okay.
if stuff comes up, they can get a hold of you. So it's kind of good for our business. You
Yeah.
have to, if you're out of town, you have to have someone here representing you. Or
that makes sense. I didn't even know that.
yeah.
The clients that I'm actually trying to send over to you, they live in Boston, so I didn't even know that, honestly.
Nice. My mom was outside Boston, so
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
good.
she moved there for 2 years. And she got an accent. I'm like, Mom, you lived up here for like 35 years. Like, you moved there, like, you come back, you got a little twang in your voice. Like, come on.
That's so
Like keep the Rochester accent. Get the West Side Rochester accent back.
right. So how many properties do you currently own?
Usually fluctuates.
Like, do you like if for the right price you would just sell it?
Like how many properties we manage or how many properties we own?
How many do you own?
Well, it's like good, like 10, 15, 20 at one point. Sold some. I don't know. I got like offers in like 5 or 6 right now. It kind of fluctuates. I think I have like
Interesting. So
I don't
you're
know,
just
5 units
constantly
maybe
doing
total.
it. Wait, so do you go downtown to buy like foreclosed properties, stuff like that?
Yeah, a couple times. I haven't had that great of luck doing that. Like,
Yeah.
I know there's a couple local investors that I'm
Yeah,
very good
there's
friends with that do
I
it.
see the same people down there.
I
every
both kind
time
of get their
I've
little
gone.
niche in how they do things.
Yeah.
So I have like a very, very good, strong network of like realtors, attorneys, accountants,
That'll
things
just
like that.
call you if something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I tell people about like real estate investing too. They're like, well, how do I get into real estate investing?
Yeah.
Well, I got to get a good accountant, get a good lawyer,
Yeah.
and just start letting people know what you're doing. Like let them know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Get a good private financer,
Yeah.
hard money lender. And then people just bring you deals. They'll be like, well,
Yeah.
this off market property looks like something that this guy would be interested
Yeah.
in. So
Yeah.
they'll just bring you deals.
That's a big reason why I got into this too. Just we wanted to grow the real estate thing, and not only is it better just for us, like we can get into a property whenever we want. Me
Yeah,
having
yeah.
a license. Actually, my husband is licensed as well.
you guys
but
both Remax.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, Remax
nice.
Plus. Yeah,
Everybody knows in Remax. I'm like my license is with Keller Williams, and I'm like I do more business with Remax than anyone.
you know what's funny is people ask me all the time, why Remax? Why'd you pick Remax? There's, and I'm like,
Everyone loves it.
not only is it known everywhere, but just my office alone has to be like the biggest producer ever.
Which one's your office?
Remax Plus on Monroe.
Oh, in
Brighton.
Pittsburgh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good friends with Derek Herkins. He loves it
Yeah,
over
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, Derek's a good friend.
I'm
I
friends
grew
with
up with
Derek.
him.
Yeah.
I grew up with him in Victor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good guy and huge producer.
Yeah.
So I mean, I rub elbows with the biggest producers in Rochester.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a tough business. So, like to rise to the top like that, like in
Yeah.
like in the time span that he did,
Yeah,
it's tough.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And he came from, I mean, basically the hospitality business,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
He was. I think he did something with bowling alleys.
Yeah,
he was like
the bowling alley manager.
Yeah, he was like Roy Munson from Kingpin.
I hope he watches this. All right, so you own commercial too?
I don't own any commercial. I mean, especially one right now. We have a bunch of commercial stuff that we manage and retail stuff.
And how does that work? How's that? I mean, it's got to be so different. Like,
well, it's tough now because
even.
a lot of people don't want to get into brick and mortar businesses.
For sure.
I mean, I mean, it's similar. I mean, you have escalating leases. I mean, it's similar to residential in that, similar in some ways, different in other ways. But I mean, the leases are structured a little differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we got a few right now that we're trying to lease out, but it's not the easiest.
Yeah.
We've got like 4 or 5 storefronts right now. I mean, we're getting like a couple calls here and there, but stuff.
It's kind of nerve wracking. We just got 2 properties. Each of them have a storefront.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of like which are good businesses, but we have a couple. All the storefronts we get are either like they want to put a hair salon in there, nail studio, or a barber shop, or like a corner store. I'm like, how many more corner stores do we need? But, I mean, they're essential to the areas. So
yeah, true. So what do you like better? Single families, multifamilies, commercial?
Well, if you don't want to deal with domestic disputes or neighbor disputes, I would say single families.
That's
just because
true.
we got people living on top of each other, so it's like you're mediating constantly. I'm like, well.
And is that your job to mediate? I want to know personally.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a value of having a property manager. So, like, if you're an owner out of town or an owner, even if you're local, you know what I mean? It's a lot to manage a property, especially if it's multifamily, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like a very, like, what have you done for me lately, thankless type job. Because just so much goes on behind the scenes that people don't see. You know, they're kind of just like, where's the rent, income, expense report? I don't want to see the numbers. I don't care. Like, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
Which is why we get fallout from, like, realtors are like, I think I want to manage some properties. And then they just... And they do their client a disservice. They don't really know the business, what they're doing. They're not seasoned at it, so that ends up devaluing the property. They got bad tenants in there, and then we got to deal with the fallout.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get one bad tenant in a like a 4-unit, like it just ruins the whole building. Yeah. Especially now you can't get rid of them. But before we can kind of get rid of them.
I know. Did that get lifted yet?
No.
It got extended.
Yeah.
No, the one for COVID.
Yeah.
It's extended.
It was like another 30 days, and then of course Cuomo says, it's going to be until COVID's over, and he said COVID will be over when I say it's over. I'm like, oh well, Cuomo said when he said it's over, then it's over, I guess.
So,
but he's writing a book, so he's got to keep it going. So.
What are you doing right now for people that don't pay? It's just like, sorry.
We're actually like very. So I found in the beginning, like a lot of people like are more like owner oriented because they're trying to get the clients, they want to keep their client happy. But then the problem is if you start not paying attention to tenants as much and just kind of doing more for the owner than the tenants, and like having a frustrated or distressed tenant is like the worst. Mm-hmm. So we're a little more tenant oriented, which in turn does a service for the client anyway as well. Yeah. So if they don't pay, we try to work with them. I mean, we're probably at like 85-90% collection rate still. Yeah. But it's the same 10-15% of tenants that are paying before are paying now.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No,
it's like,
I
let's
agree.
just say it's the usual suspects. And then they're like, we can't pay. It's a lot of like a lot of the tenants that were not paying before are just now really not paying.
I agree.
And the other tenants that are slow paying or call us and they're decent, like, look, this, we're having these struggles.
At least
here.
they answer your phone calls and they talk to you about it.
Yeah, we work with them. We're
nice.
like, pay what you can. What, blah blah blah. Like we're not like I don't want to evict people. Like, I don't want to. Yeah. But like also like my fiduciary duty is to the client. So we're always trying to tell them like it's not always because sometimes they get frustrated. And like I said, they don't see what we see behind the scenes. And they don't have like boots on the ground dealing with these tenants all day. So they're like, get them out. I'm like, well, let's just work with them. Let's just work with them. Try to.
Well, isn't it more of a pain to do an eviction? I've never had to do an eviction before.
Yeah, I mean before, so we use Nick Moralia downtown, or we use John Naka. John Naka's like the superstar of the courts down there. Okay. He owns Nosh, and he's like the a prominent real estate attorney. So he's like a superstar. So I mean before, we call one of those guys. You get the eviction, you get in there. They usually serve it within a couple days. Yeah. And then they get to court. They'll probably be, can you be out in 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Okay, yeah, that's fine. Can you find a place? Sure. And then they give them, you get them out in 2 to 3 weeks, 30 days maybe. But But then they redid the New York State tenant laws in 2020.
Yep.
Yeah, they just redid them like in January,
Yep.
February.
Mm-hmm.
So then it was like minimum. So instead of a 3-day notice, a 14-day notice, then minimum stay of 30. So you got 44
crazy.
days right there
I know.
minimum. So that, and then COVID hit. So now it's like we got people. We have tenants in Buffalo that have been there. We tried to start the eviction in November. They're still there. We literally can't do anything.
And they're just not paying.
And the attorney's like, we don't even know. You might have to start over again. I'm like, Jesus. So. But like I said, we got 85, 90% collection rate still, and like even when we have vacancies, we try to vet the tenants as much as possible. It's, to try to maximize the value of the property for the owner, maximize rents. We also don't want to we also don't want a tenant that can't pay.
Right.
So it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't do us a service to have some crappy tenant in there. They can't afford the place we just shoved in there because we want to look good to the landlord.
Yeah. Agreed. So if someone buys a property, let's say they buy something that needs some fixing up, do you guys go in and help with that part of it too?
Yeah. So we have I have guys that work for me directly. Just like over the years of dealing with contractors, for the past decade, you kind of make connections here and there.
Yeah, 100%.
So like other people are like, oh, can I use this guy? I'm like, no, it's going to be years and years to find these good guys. Like you go out there, you put the work in, and you go.
One of my brokers told me, he's like, if I asked you who your contracting teams or who's your contractor, would you tell me his name? And I was like, no. He's like, good answer.
I just cycle through 200 people to find 10 good people. So I like giving those contacts up. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we have guys work for us directly. We subcontract out some bigger stuff.
Yeah.
If we have like some big framing stuff, roofing stuff. So we don't subcontract anything out as far as that goes. That saves on material costs, labor costs. Yeah. So I tell people like the value of management and the maintenance aspect, is if you have a knowledgeable management company that knows what they need to do.
And you have people on hand. It's like, plumbing issue right now.
Right.
Someone can go.
If you're just calling someone off Craigslist or calling like a big contracting company, they're going to whack you at 85 an hour, 105 an hour. Mm-hmm. So if you have a management company that has in-house staff, they're not paying anywhere near those rates.
It's amazing.
Plus we have accounts at all B&L, all the wholesalers. So we get material discounts, things like that.
Good.
Oh yeah, we're completely set up.
So if someone contacts you, like, I want to get into this, how do I start? You can help them really like the entire way through it.
Yeah, from step one to, from step one, if let's say they buy a property, we can rehab it, rent it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we had some good clients that started with nothing. Now they got 10, 15, 20 properties. We help them from step one to the end. Yeah, all the way up to if they want to sell. Same thing. We'll find off market buyers for them, things like that.
Yeah, keep me in mind.
Yeah,
we're always buying.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so what else?
You guys got 15 units. You guys are doing good.
Yeah, it's chaos. My husband will literally max out our bank account. Like literally, we live so poorly sometimes. It's like all of a sudden we're rich, and then it's like we're so poor because he's
that's
like,
that's why everyone thinks
there's
there's a free lunch out here. I'm like, that's not how that works. It's not at all.
Oh my God, not at all. It's crazy. The grind is insane.
It makes it worth it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, in some days. So he's actually a cop by day. So
nice, beautiful.
Yeah. So that's why he's a big Trump supporter.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the local police. That's for sure.
Good.
I have a lot of RPD friends that support those guys in the fullest.
Yeah. So he.
Wait, who's your husband?
John Watson.
Oh, I know Dan Watson.
Yeah, Dan's is like his best friend.
I know Dan.
Yeah, Dan's RPD.
Their
John's
best friends
are
both last names Watson.
Isn't that weird?
People probably think they're married. They go out together.
They grew up together.
What's your husband's name?
John. So it's like, and Dan's brother's name is John.
So John and Dan go out. Both their last names are Watson. People probably think they're a married
couple. They're besties.
And they're both cops?
And they're both cops.
We're two cops with the same last name out to dinner.
But John works for the sheriff department. But yeah,
nice.
I'd say he spends most of his days doing the rental stuff. So
nice.
Yeah. And reading Bigger Pockets and stuff like that.
Oh, I guess sucked it. That's what. So he probably sees me on there because there's the amount of questions that are Bigger Pockets, like especially like the Facebook one.
Yeah.
The Facebook group, like people will be like, they'll take a picture of like something peeling off the wall and they'll be like, what do I do about this? Can anyone help me? I'm like, if you can't figure these little minor things out, I'm like, this is what I would do. Go on Facebook, ask a bunch of strangers. But they ask like legal questions. I'm like, how do you own properties and you're on a Facebook group asking random strangers just minor little problems you could just find solutions for yourself?
100%. Or Google it.
And I go on there all the time. Like a lot, I go back and forth with people on there, like, is the business stuff. But like sometimes people just ask like the dumbest questions on there. I'm like, they say there's like no dumb questions. No, there's dumb questions. People ask a lot of dumb questions. I'm like part of the business is like
entertaining.
Is like figuring this stuff out in yourself and like finding your own resources.
Yeah.
And like,
Yep. And the way that works best for you too.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had talked about
A lot of lacquer on this desk. This is nice.
Chris did all
Who did your
it.
lacquer here?
Okay, so you do help with consulting. We went over that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm consulting. I mean, we get people calls constantly, like clients. Sometimes I don't know if they're other companies or people want to get in the business. I don't even know. We get so many calls, people asking, so what do you go to manage these properties? What would you do here? What would you do there? What do you charge? So I don't know if people are even, sometimes I feel like I'm consulting without even knowing I'm consulting.
Right. You're just answering the question.
Yeah, but.
So how many properties do you manage in Rochester? How many in Buffalo? And then are you somewhere else too?
Yeah, well, Erie County. So we have like Batavia, Rochester, Batavia, Buffalo. So I started in Buffalo, similar to like how I started in Rochester a little bit. Like, I had a guy in Buffalo I met with a couple years ago, had a portfolio of like 45 units, and he wasn't happy with this. I mean, Buffalo's got, it's a bigger city. It's like a lot of management companies out there and a lot of crappy ones too. So he's had a company that was running his properties on the ground. This is like 5 years ago. So then he called me like a year or two ago. I was like, all right, I'm ready to make the switch. I'm like, you still got that same company? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, how much damage have they done since the last time I talked to you? And a lot. So we helped this guy get his properties back in order. It was quite an uphill battle. It wasn't easy. So we kind of just expanded from there. He turned me out to some other investors. He's like a big investor from he's a Middle Eastern guy. He's the CEO of a company, in the UK. So he's got a lot of properties here, a lot of contacts, in Buffalo.
Why here?
He's got properties all over the world.
Oh, okay.
But I think he had a realtor that kind of sold him on upstate New York. I don't know the entire story, but he's another guy got taken advantage of by a management company. We swooped in, helped him out, got his properties up to compliance, up to code. Especially he's got 45 properties in all different areas of Buffalo. So imagine 45 properties. There's like 12 different inspectors. You got Erie County, you have the city, then you have Belmont Housing, which is like Section 8 in Buffalo, then you have DSS. So it's like it's literally like I have one person that handles like it's like a part-time job just handling this one portfolio, know? So that's what people don't understand about the real estate business too is, if you start getting multiple units more and more, things will snowball very, very quickly, if you're not on top of everything. And that's kind of what happened with this guy. I think he was too trusting of this one company. And so we got started there, and then I think we got like 50 or so up there, like 10 in Batavia, Tonawanda type area, like that conglomerate there. And then we got like, I don't know, 120 Rochester. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it definitely. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean we're set up. We have like all the best software, all the best technology. So a lot of stuff's automated. So
if someone's about like needs to renew something or whatever.
Yeah, we use a property management software. So like anytime lease renewals are up, we get an alert. Tenants can pay rent online. We get an alert. They can make work order requests online. The owners have like a little portal. They can see all the stuff that happens with the.
So do tenants pay online through like an app or something?
Yeah. So the software we have, it's like an accounting software that kind of just keeps track of everything.
Yeah.
So the tenants get a portal. The landlords get a portal. So all the activity that happens, like even from our end, like in the office, like internal stuff, we can choose like what they can see. So if I'm like telling my leasing agent, there's a couple showings here, they get a deposit on the property, I can put that in, and then the owner can see, okay, they sold the property, they got a deposit. We upload documents, things like that. And the tenants can see, we can communicate with the tenants through it too. They can pay rent. Yeah. So it's definitely the software has made things a lot easier than it was, years ago. So
now, are all your leases the same, like ones that you do, or do you consult with the actual owner of the house on?
We ask them, like, you have a lease you want to, like, if we're leasing a property, like we get a lot of, so we do a ton of, like, not besides management, we have like other businesses, like a byproduct of management. So we do a ton of leasing. We lease a ton of properties. We do a ton of rehab work for investors. Like even if we don't manage their properties, we're part of like it's like whole like home flipping network of guys, and they come to us just to rehab their properties. Sometimes we do leasing for them too. So we'll ask, like, do you have a lease you want to use? You want to use our lease? We look at their lease to make sure it's like in compliance and like fair housing and all that. It's got to be very, very strict with fair housing and compliance. So what if they don't? We use our lease. Then if there's like off-street parking, we modify it accordingly. Of course.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's crazy. I can't even fathom keeping track of all of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we got all these systems in place. But a lot of tenants, like, I hate inheriting tenants a lot of times because you inherit a tenant, you're like, is there a deposit being transferred? Well, I don't know if we got a deposit. Is there a lease? I don't know. They're a month. I mean, if they don't have a lease, they're on New York State month to month anyway. Yeah. So, I mean, kind of in this day and age, so like on those bigger pocket forms, so a lot of people are like just going month to month anyway, just because they in case something happens with the tenant, they want to be able to get rid of them, give them a 30-day notice instead of being stuck with them.
Well, yeah, when you're buying a property that's already tenant occupied, I prefer that.
Yeah.
For sure. But a lot of times people will have them sign a new lease right before
We get
putting
the
it on the
estoppel
market.
agreements, you know,
Yep.
to make sure, to
Yep.
verify everything. But
Which even now, half the properties we've been seeing, the owners refuse. They'll tell me up front they refuse to sign that.
really,
Yep.
Nice.
Because
That's nice.
so I'm like, all right, thank you for letting me know nobody's paying their rent.
Yeah,
here.
that's exactly
You
it.
know,
Yeah.
so it's
I
kinda-
am not signing an estoppel agreement. I'm like, well, okay, so I
Yeah.
just assume.
I'm like, okay, well, so these 7 units are not making any money currently.
Yeah, and who knows when you can get them out, you know? So you're getting it done. Like, okay,
Exactly.
yeah, I'll buy your house and just sit there and not collect any rent and put money into
That's
it. Well,
scary.
yeah, so
I
I'll
know.
buy it. For the reason you're getting out, I'll buy it and just sit there. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Not good, not good. Okay, so I want to talk about some tenant stories.
I have so many. I don't even know. I don't even know. I have so many. I don't know. I can run out of. So when I was younger, I used to go and collect cash in neighborhoods too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the number one
We
thing.
made
you don't
that
do.
mistake like
You don't do
a
that.
long time
There's
ago.
a guy from another management company. When I was younger. I heard a guy. I forgot the guy's name. Got clubbed over the head with it because the guy paid
Oh,
rent.
God.
Well, the guy went there, collected rent, and then got robbed for it. You know, as he was walking out, and the tenant's like, "Well, I don't know. We paid rent. I don't know. You get robbed. You know." But he probably had something set up, like
Yeah,
the
get
guy
my
hit the
money
head with
back.
I think I hit the head with a 2x4 or something. You know, and I don't like. I mean, I'm definitely pro gun, but I don't like carry guns. You know, so
Yeah.
I go in these neighborhoods when I was younger, and I would just be collecting rent. I'd be painting houses and it's dark out. I mean, there's just people they're chain smoking. They got music playing. They're cooking. I'm in their house 10 o'clock at night painting and stuff. I used to do all the worst things in the beginning. So yeah, I've gotten run out of neighborhoods. I've had I just so many. I don't even know where to start. There's so many.
So obviously the bad neighborhoods. So someone got. What about good tenant stories? I mean, do you have
There's a ton of
anybody
good
that
tenant
you're
stories. Yeah,
that you genuinely helped somebody and you feel so good that day?
Yeah, I mean, we've had people, that are struggling for a place to live, and they have cash in hand, and they don't have the best credit, or they don't have a long job. Because people are very, very strict on that. We're not. I mean, we're strict. We're not that strict. And we don't really do a credit check. We do. It depends what the owners want to. So we main thing we do is income verification, employment verification, and then I've been doing this for so long and dealt with thousands of tenants.
You can totally
I'm really
get just
good
the
at
feel.
I can tell if tenants are good, but not sometimes you don't. Sometimes I'm like, this is going to be a crappy tenant. Then I'm like, wow, they're great. They've been here for 3 years and never missed a payment.
Yeah.
Or they come in. The amount of people. So I've realized that the people that come in begging to live somewhere that cry are usually the worst. Like, oh, God bless you, you need a place to live. I've been scammed so many times by tenants to do that. Then they move in, they can't get rid of them, and then then they go to court, they plead their case, and the judge is lenient, liberal, gets them stay there, and then you're like, I just can't get rid of them, So, yeah, I mean, we've had tons of good stories where we've had long lasting tenants take care of the property. We're pretty good at getting stuff done. So you get the tenants that don't tell you anything is going on until the first of the month, and they're like, "Oh, this is going on. This is going on."
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm like, you should probably tell me beforehand because there could be a serious
they're trying to buy
issue
some
here.
time to pay rent or not pay rent. Yeah,
but I'm like,
the
even if
deal.
you didn't pay rent, I'm like, I would like to know if there's a huge plumbing issue, right?
Yeah. What's another good one? I had a lady say that a lady yelled at me on the phone, said I'm the reason that low income people can't progress in this life, and that's and then when because I kept calling her to pick with me because part of our landlords get pissed if we don't collect rent too. The whole responsible.
Yeah.
I've gotten people threatened to sue me before for not collecting rent, and so they're like part of your contract is you'll duly sworn to collect rents and utilize resources. But they don't understand. Sometimes you can't physically make people pay rent, and then they're getting frustrated. So it puts pressure on us, and they're like,
For sure. I understand that.
we start pressuring people. So this lady was screaming at me, and then we still had wouldn't pay rent. So finally we evicted her. And then she calls me screaming at me, and she's like, "You got people like you are the reason that people like us can't progress in this world, and God have mercy on your soul for you throwing us out in the street." I'm like, "Well, ma'am, you're not paying your rent." I go, "What am I supposed to do? You can't I don't live for free. You can't live for free."
I know.
And then she goes, "When you get to wherever you're going, I hope the Lord has mercy on your soul when you get to the gates." And I go, "Well, I'll bring your ledger to me with the Lord when I get there, and I'll let him know what your balance was." And that I don't think the
Maybe
Lord
he'll
cares.
pay it off.
I'm like, the Lord wants you to live for free and us not to collect rent. I didn't know the Lord was on your side. And she said some swear words and hung up on me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I've had tenant. So one of the big things too is people that young couples move in and they break up, and then the one person's like, "Wow, here's my
Every
half.
time."
Here's
And my husband
half."
loves a couple, and I'm like, they've been dating for 2 months.
I
Is this
know.
really a good idea? I think it's not.
I've had that happen a lot. Where I'm like, "Well, look, you have a contract. If you want to get out, a lot of times a lot of people break. If I know it's gonna be a drawn out pain in the ass, I'm like, just break your lease, just get out. I'll rent it out.
Yeah.
I don't care." But I've had one time it was an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old girl, a guy. I don't remember where they live in, like Durden Street or something. So, you know, the kid moves out and then the girl's stuck there. So then the girl, like, we're like, look, you got to pay the rent. Like, you know, and this other thing too is like, you know, for some reason, the women are always more responsible ones. So the guys never want to the guys never want to be on the lease. So we'll get like the girls will call up and they'll be like, yeah, it'd be my boyfriend. And then they want to sign everything. I go, all right, well, you're responsible for everything. If your boyfriend's living there and he's not in the lease, like you're responsible. And then the boyfriend, will end up ditching her. Something will happen. And then the girl's stuck there. I'm like, look, you're responsible for it. So I had a dad one time calling, threatening us. I'm like, look, we don't need to tell you she signed a contract. She's 18 years old. He's like,
right.
So you put a child in here. Now she's stuck there. She lived by herself. I go, well, it was your kid. You take care of it. What do you want me to do? I'm like, I don't know. I go, I'm trying to be like, in the middle here, but I go, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
I go talk to the boyfriend. So he goes, I want her deposit back. I go, she hasn't paid rent in 2 months. He's like, well, she's been paying her half. I go, that's not how it works. And he goes, I want her out of the property. I go, well, then she can get out. I don't know. I'm not giving her a deposit back, though. So this guy comes to my office, my brother works for me. I go, this guy comes to the office, don't answer the door. I go, because he's screaming, says he's coming down. This guy knocks on the door. My brother lets him right in.
Come on in.
So this guy comes in, and he's like screaming at me, and he's like, man, you're a big guy, get up. I go, I'm not getting up. And
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's like, let me see how big you are. He's like, bigger than me, get up. I go, I'm not getting up. Do you need something? What do you need? He started yelling about and then like I started talking him down. I'm like, look, I go, you should be mad at the boyfriend, not get mad at me.
Yeah.
I go, get mad at your daughter who signed a lease knowing she couldn't afford it. I go, are these like life lessons you should be teaching your daughter? I go, why are you? I go, come storming into my office yelling at me. I'm like, I am bigger than you. I'm like, that's why I'm not getting up because I'll throw you through the window. So then the guy's like, you're right. I need to have a serious talk with her. I go, look, I'm not giving the deposit back, but I will not pursue her, anything. I go, just you can leave the property as it is. I don't even care if there's damages. She can leave, whatever. He's like, yeah. I go, just a lesson learned for her, I guess. I go, she's 8. I go, well, you know how many mistakes I made when I was younger? I go, so she got mixed up with a guy. Guy left her. Now she's stuck there.
Yeah.
I go, luckily I'm lenient. Like a lot of companies would not let this happen. I go,
100%.
so I'll just tell her she can leave, no problem. He's like, well, I don't know if she has money to pay this month's rent. I'm like, don't worry about it. Just leave. Yeah. So he's like, all right, man, I appreciate it. I respect that. So like, actually, I'm kind of glad that my brother let the guy in because, the guy, he probably would have been more, who knows what would have happened. But
he would have broke your door down.
Or came there like when we're not there. Who knows? But then I've had I have stuff like that happen a lot where like the tenants want to get out of their lease or they can't pay and they're mad. Or just, stuff like that.
Now, what about when friends or family call you for help?
Yeah, I try to help people out. I've had a lot of friends rent from me, but then a lot of times,
we get screwed every time.
Friends want leniency too, and
Yep.
yeah. So I've had both sides. I've rented to friends that were great. I've rented to friends that were not great. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I guess it just depends.
So, are you looking to expand?
Yeah,
more?
always. Yeah. We're a little more strict. Like when I was a little younger, like we would take on anybody. Yeah. But now when we take on, which isn't always the best thing. You get in a lot of trouble that way. You take on a distressed landlord, distressed property who doesn't have the right insurances in place, who's kind of, he's kind of frantic as it is because he's coming off maybe, we get guys that come off of 2 or 3 bad management companies and they're just already like bitter as it is.
Yeah.
So you start getting some of these landlords like that. It's not their fault, they're not here, so they don't have their thumb on the pulse, so to speak.
Yeah.
So then we're trying to pick up the pieces. We're already kind of throwing our feet to the fire anyway, and it seldom ever works out,
Yeah.
So now we try to vet them a little more. If somebody comes to me and says they've been through 2 or 3 management companies within a short amount of time, I know that they're probably a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of good management companies around. There's a lot of shitty ones, and there's a lot of good ones. So, if somebody tells me they've been through a couple of management companies, I recognize some of the names being reputable ones, and then I'm like, okay, then I'm not gonna.
They can't handle you, like no.
Yeah. Just a good ones like Gallagher Management's a great company. Like they're one of the bigger ones. Lighthouse, like there's a lot of good ones around. So if I hear someone say they're coming off of those of some of like the better ones, then I know they're probably hard to deal with.
Yeah.
But yeah, we make sure they have the right insurances in place. We make sure that they're caught up on taxes. Especially you get properties, you take people over and they're behind on taxes. They're not, because if you want to get, they're gonna be more about like where's the money, give you the money, and not put the money back in the property.
Yeah.
Which that puts us at risk of liability.
I wonder about that. Because a lot of people, even just people I know, it's like, oh yeah, I want to buy a rental property just to collect the money, probably just to have.
Yeah, so
you got to put it back in.
It's not just that easy. Yeah, you got a budget to put back in. But you get these landlords that are already kind of coming off of a distressed situation. Like they're not going to want to put money back in the property, and then you're like the middleman. You're kind of the tenants. The tenants don't want to pay because they want things done. The landlord doesn't want to put money back in the property, so you kind of get you're kind of in the middle. Then you're the fall guy. You're always a bad guy.
Like, do you require the owners to have a certain amount of dollars,
like a reserve account?
Yeah,
we try to do like $250 a unit. It's up to them. We always, we're very, very lenient. We're very owner friendly. Like our contracts are very. I've worked for a few different real estate management companies before when I was younger, and I could see the contracts. I kind of adjusted our contracts like to what I thought were like the better parts of them.
Mm-hmm.
So we always have a 30-day out clause. So you can get out anytime. And, like I've had to fire
nice.
people too. So, you know, like we're the same way. So like, yeah, it's not working out, you know, whatever. So yeah, I mean, we're just...
So have you ever gone into a property and just been like, how did they live like this?
Yeah, I'll tell you another funny story. So we had a house on Magnolia Street, and I had a plumber there, HVAC guy, and this lady.
Wait, which one?
I don't remember. It was a duplex on Magnolia in the corner there where that corner store is. I don't remember.
God.
But
I just had a deal fall through at the closing table on Magnolia.
Really? It's a bad street. It is. It's bad luck over there.
It's interesting you say that. Yeah.
So none of the power on. It's dark in there. So we're in the basement. Guys looking at the furnace, hot water tank, whatever. So we walk out, and I had shorts on in the summertime. This is probably like 8-10 years ago. So we walk out. We thought we had rust all over our legs. It was fleas. I thought it was rust, covered in fleas everywhere, all over, everywhere. I thought it was rust. I'm like, what is this? And when it's not coming off, it's moving. I'm like, my buddy's like, that's fleas. I'm like, so we freaked out.
So the whole house needed to be just like bombed.
Yeah.
And people were living in there?
There was a girl about to move in, but the people before were living in there, and they kept cats and dogs in the basement. And this is the same unit that we did an inspection there, and I go, and the basement was dark because they always take the light bulbs out of the basement, so the basements are always dark because whenever they need light bulbs upstairs, they go to the basement and take them.
Oh my God.
So we go in the basement. This is the same unit before, and so we go down there, and I'm like, what is that in the corner? This is like a dark, wet, just disgusting basement.
Scared.
There's a guy sleeping in a sleeping bag in the far wet corner of a basement. So I go up there, I go, ma'am, there's a guy in your basement. You know that? She goes, oh, yeah, that's my cousin. I'm like, he's in your basement sleeping on the floor. Like, are you like worried about that? I go, is he alive?
I'm concerned.
Oh, like, is he alive? She's like, yeah, he just needs a place to sleep. I'm like, all right. I think about that.
Better off outside.
Like, I think about that all the time. I'm like, just like, 'cause I remember the conditions.
It's so normal to them.
Yeah, I gotta buy the most expensive mattress, pillows. I got an air circulator, fans. It just to try to get a good night's sleep. And this guy's sleeping in a wet corner in a sleeping bag, using like a broken Heineken bottle for a pillow. and I gotta have air purifiers and humidifiers to sleep, and 14 My Pillows.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
Well, yeah, I got a bunch of stories like that. And there's another one too. Like, I don't judge how people live, but sometimes I do. And we do a lot of pest control, right? So you think like if you see like one roach in your house, you're like, I'm calling someone to get rid of
Oh my
this.
God, yeah.
So we had a property that we were doing. The lady was like, we were over there for something, and I noticed there was like roaches in the kitchen, and she's like just cooking, like no big deal. I'm like, you have roaches all over your kitchen. She's like, oh yeah, I was gonna call you about that. I'm like, oh okay. Like, you want to get this done? We need to get this done. I'm like, this is a duplex. I'm like, this will spill into the other unit. So she's like, okay. So when I go back there like a week later, the exterminator, I forgot who I was using, but we go back there. So same thing, she's in the kitchen cooking, doing something. And the guy's like, come here, look at this. And you look under the counter, like under the lip of the counter, and they're just running all under the lip of the counter. And then he goes, look on and then we're on the floor, looking like under the cabinet, like up, kind of like, like on where the trim is, and they're running all under there. And there's a kid on the floor playing, like kind of like crawling from like the living area into the kitchen. I'm like, get that kid off the floor. I'm like, are you crazy? And she's like, no, he's just playing. I go, there's roaches everywhere.
He's playing with roaches.
Everywhere. So I got a lot of stories like that. And we managed this one building. I could go on forever with these stories. We managed a building downtown. We had like a huge bed bug roach problem in there.
Yeah.
Another thing, came off of bad management. We did nothing. And then we got to pick up the pieces. So we go into this building, and we got to go through all these units to make it like an assessment of what we got to do. So I think Flower City Pest did it. So we were down there. So we go in this one room. I think about this too. Every time I got to change my sheets, this goes through my head. It flashes through my head. Oh my God. So there's a creepy situation, but it was like a kid in his 20s with his shirt off, and then apparently his uncle with his shirt off. They're both laying on bed together watching TV. So I go, hey, we got to kind of come through the unit here, look for roaches and bed bugs. So he goes, yeah, we haven't really seen anything, blah, blah, blah. But we're like, all right, we got to look. So, they usually pull up the mattress, it's in between the mattress and the box spring. This is disgusting. We pulls up the mattress, and roaches, I can't get this out of my... Every time I change my sheets, it's like scarred me for life. Roaches and bed bugs just go scatter. Like hundreds, just scatter. So there's like little bed bugs, and there's roaches. They scatter everywhere. In between the box spring and in the mattress. So like every time I change my
totally
sheets,
unfazed.
I go, oh, look at this, and the guy's like, oh yeah, and then the kid just like smoking a cigarette. He's like, oh yeah, wow, that's bad. I'm like, bad? I'll jump out the window if I saw that. So I'm like, you want to throw this mattress out? Like, you can't lay. So they're like, yeah, they're like, this is infested. This whole box. So they live in the box springs too. So it's like
yeah. Well, they live literally everywhere. They live in the walls.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, throw his box spring out. And they're like, oh, how do we get a new one? You guys gonna give us a new one? I'm like, no, I'm not giving you a new one.
Are you gonna give me a new one?
Like, I lay on it, I guess, but we got to treat everything. Like, it was bad. Yeah, it was bad. Like, if you get like like multifamily buildings and units, it's tough to get rid of them because they're transferable. I think we spent like $55,000 over like a year and a half to try to just never ending, never ended. Just treating constantly, common areas, everything.
They're like impossible to get rid of.
Yeah, and like I think they can lay dormant for like 6 months. You know,
so. No, if that ever, oh my God, I'd be like, we're done. Blow it up.
These are like the joys of property. Yeah, I'm talking about. This is what makes.
This sounds like something I really want to do.
This is what makes a job. Well, then like the problem is like articulate. This is why now it's easier because we have digital. So we take a lot of pictures, a lot of videos because we like want to make sure the owner's like I'm not just making this stuff up. Like this is really what's going on.
Right,
you know?
right. Dang.
So
are you the in-between guy that like you're calming down your clients all the time? You're calming down tenants?
Yeah, I mean we have my brother works for me. I got leasing agents. I got maintenance guys. So I deal with like a lot of the like I'm out and about a lot. You know, like doing stuff like this. I meet with a lot of realtors, a lot of industry professionals. Insurance people. So I kind of do that stuff. I deal with the owners a lot, and then if there's any calls to the office, my brother answers all the calls, so he's kind of the office guy. They got a girl that handles like our bookkeeping, things like that. So there's always someone around to answer all the.
That's great.
Yeah,
I love that. So a normal day in your life, you get up and run around.
Yeah, there's a book I saw the other day. It said property management, and it said on the cover, it was like it's like riding a bike on fire. You're on fire, and everything around you is on fire. So that's kind of like it is every day. You're riding a bike on fire, and everything around you is on fire. And like things come up in an instant. It's always like it's not like you can.
And it's
hard
constant.
to plan the day because it can just come up constantly.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. Okay, so just wrapping up, what advice would you give to people that are interested in either investing in...
I'd say invest in Rochester. It's a great market. It's such a stable market. Rents are great.
It is. Yeah. All right. And then hire you as a management company.
Yeah, or me or any other reputable company. There's a lot of good reputable companies out there, so.
Good.
Yeah. Company. Oh, yeah, MMT Property Group.
MMT
Property. I should have said that. MMTproperty585.com.
Perfect.
Everything's on there.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
So much appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I'm sure I have a lot more questions for you in the future. So.
I could go on for hours and hours.
I know. We'll do it again.
Anytime.
We'll do it again. Perfect. Thank you. That's it for What's on the Market. Thanks for being here.